Today's video, we're going to be changing the starter on this 04 Honda Odyssey. It's starting to intermittently not start, so I'm going to get it fixed before it completely fails. And it's just right under this battery box, so it's not going to be too hard. But yeah, let's get to it. Alright, first thing we're going to do is take off this battery. I'm going to take off the wires off first, and then the two mounts. This positive wire is a 13mm for the nut. The negative is a 10mm. The battery tie down are two 10mm. I'm using the deep well. Okay, now with that out, let's take off the battery. Okay, now we're going to take off this plastic tray. Okay, so to get these two silver plugs off of the brackets from the back side, that little tab from the top, you're going to push it down, and at the same time pushing this off of the bracket. So just an FYI. So push down and it'll slide right off. This one is opposite. You're going to get from the bottom now, and you're going to pull up, and then you're going to push it off. Next thing we're going to do is take off this metal battery tray. A bolt in here. There is a bolt holding into this bracket right here on the inside. There is a top bolt and a side bolt. Let's see if I can zoom in. Right there. Alright, next it's going to be that bolt right there. It's a 12mm. And the bolt in the back, which is a 12mm. One more. It's at the back side of the battery tray, all the way at the bottom of the frame rail. So I jacked up the front left of the car. This jack right there, make sure it's on the frame. Come under to where you're just by the shock. So there's a bolt right there. I'm not going to be able to record it, but there's access right here from the bottom of the car. Well, that's courteous of Honda, if this is true. But it looks like it's not a full wraparound on the bottom mount. It's just a slit like this. So I loosened it, and this should come up. And it does. So this is what I meant when I said it was a slot. That slot just slides into where the bolt is. It's not a full release on the bolt to get it out. They should have just put like a nub like right there and a slot in the frame rail, so you can kind of just sit this in instead of having a bolt, but whatever. Got it out. Now we can start working on the starter. Alright, so the two wires are that nut right there and a terminal that just slides off. It's not like other ones where it has another smaller bolt or a nut to hold on a wire. So we're just going to pull that top one off and unbolt that nut. The nut is a 12mm. And the top wire should just get popped off real quick. There you go. Okay, the two mount bolts, one is above where the wires connect and one is on the bottom end. They are 17 millimeter. There's the first top one. It was sockets were not going on good, so I was trying this extended adjustable head. I tried a longer extension. What I needed to end up using was this breaker bar. It's a 3/8 breaker bar from Harbor Freight, and I was able to break it loose, and now I can use a ratchet. So make sure you have a breaker bar. You could use a 1/2 inch if you have the sockets for that. And I'm going to break the other one so they both come out evenly. In the front, the starter's right here. The bolt is right here where you see the glove. It's more biased towards the front of the car. It's hard to see, but it's roughly like right here on the front side of the starter. Okay, now that we got it out, do a comparison, making sure they have the same bolt alignment. Sometimes they have like different faces even though the motor and the solenoid are the same. So just do a quick look before you spend a lot of time if it's not the right part. But this one's good. Let's go ahead and put it in. And then so just throw some brake cleaner on the mounting surface, so make sure there's no dirt, and then just kind of check the teeth of your flex plate, make sure that it's not getting grounded out. It's not common, but my Taurus back in the day had that ground down for some reason. But yeah, just make sure the mounting surface is clean. We can go ahead and install a new starter. You also want to make sure you start both bolts by hand and make sure that they are on threads, because you do not want to cross these since they mount up to the transmission and the engine side. So you don't want to screw up those threads. So make sure you start it by hand. Sometimes just screwing them in by hand, if you're able to have the looseness, like if it's not binding up, it just works faster than using a ratchet, especially when there's stuff in the way. So I was able to get them all the way seated just by my fingers. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw the torque on it. Now I got my torque wrench. The torque I found online was 47 foot-pounds. Alright, so she's torqued down to 47 foot-pounds. Okay, now you can go ahead and put your starter power wire. And this one, I couldn't find a torque, but you don't want to go hard on it because you'll just snap that stud right off the starter, and then you're gonna have to do this all over again, and probably won't even get it warranted. So once you bottom it out, just give it a small snug. And there you go, your starter is in. Alright, now I'm just gonna time lapse putting everything else back in, since you already know how it came out. Okay, everything's back together, and if everything went correctly, this should start up. We'll just do it a couple more times just to make sure, but I don't want to overheat the starter. And there you have it. That's how you change the starter on these early 2000 Odysseys. I believe they're the same for the later models because they still have the J35 engines. And hopefully this video helped you. Y'all have a good one.